After watching the game again between Barcelona and Real Sociedad, my opinion still stands. I still think that Barcelona played like a bunch of lunatics. I don't think that it was Barcelona's best game. As a matter of fact, it was probably the worst Barcelona game that we have seen under Xavi Hernandez. And so I still stand by what I say. I know that it's always healthy to review a match after a couple of hours to really get yourself a better assessment and a better review on the match. But I still stand by my opinion. If you look at the attacking activity here, you can see that Barcelona had very little attacking activity and the opposition had much more. Very embarrassing. Let's also look at the other stats, right? In ball possession, Real Sociedad were superior. They were also superior in total shots, shots on target, shots off target, corner kicks, big chances missed, just a bunch of things. They had more passes, which was a total of 396. Barcelona had 393. So again, embarrassing. It was super embarrassing. And when I did finish that second review of the game, I'm like, okay, what are some things that I think would, like what do I think annoys me right now about this Barcelona team and what's going wrong with this team? Like, why is the previous version that we saw, right, from the previous season, why is that team better than the current Barcelona team that we see today? Because many of us do expect to see Barcelona improve on top of the team that we saw from the previous season, right? We were so unbeatable defensively. We were able to find so many good results. We won La Liga, and we thought that with the inclusion of Joao Felix and Joao Cancelo and Oriol Romeo and Gundogan, that this team would be at a much higher level. But I feel like we went down a couple of levels. I don't think that this team can beat the previous version of us. This, my friends, it is alarming, because if we continue with this exact same attitude and approach on the field, I don't see Barcelona winning La Liga. And this is a team, right, this club that I know and I have been loving for the past 25 years, since the day I was born. This club is required to win La Liga every season. That is our absolute standard. This team is required to win that every season, and that is the minimum, right? The Copa del Rey, the Champions League is bonuses. It's the extra work that is very much achievable. And so for us to maybe go into second place or third place by the end of the season, it is embarrassing. Very embarrassing. Thanks to Girona being in a very unbeatable streak right now, becoming one of the best teams in La Liga. That is the reason why Girona is in first place and we have Real Madrid in second place. Real Madrid also tied against Rayo Vallecano 0-0. So they lost 2 points, and now we are edging closer, much closer to Real Madrid's position, and I think that the gap is getting much more smaller up top in the top four. Like, everybody's very close. Anybody can become first place at any given moment. But if only, right, if only Barcelona did what they had to do from the beginning of the season, and we came out with a great attitude, with a great approach, everybody was in good rhythm, we probably would have been in a much different position. Now, remember, we have a couple of players that were absent through this season so far, like Pedri, Frankie, Kounde, Rafinha, Lewandowski. A lot of our players were injured, but still, I felt like Barcelona could have done much better, even without those players. And you know what's funny? I just want to throw this out there. Ancelotti put out a starting 11 that had Carvajal, Rudiger, Alaba, Garcia, Camavinga, Valverde, Modric, Bellingham, Joselu, and Vinicius, right? It was a great starting 11. They played very flat in that match. Very flat against Rayo Vallecano. They had nothing against Rayo Vallecano, and that is why they tied 0-0 at the Santiago Bernabeu, right? Arda Güler did not even play. And I look at those type of things that did take place at Real Madrid, and I'm just like, okay, where's the noise? Where's the newspapers? Where's the news media outlets claiming that Real Madrid are not doing good, that Ancelotti should be sacked because he hasn't been able to get the best out of this team, that they tied against Rayo Vallecano 0-0 at their home, by the way, and that they still have yet to use Arda Güler, where they paid like 35 million euros for the player. Can you imagine if Xavi Hernandez did this? Can you imagine Xavi Hernandez with Barcelona, right? We signed freaking we signed Joao Cancelo and Joao Felix, and they do nothing. They haven't participated in anything, and we tied 0-0 against Rayo Vallecano at the Camp Nou or at our new stadium. Right? Can you imagine the amount of people from ESPN, from Sport, from Diario AS, from anywhere, right? Any newspaper or media outlet, do you know how many people would say that Barcelona is on fire and that Xavi Hernandez should get fired? But with Real Madrid, there is nothing. So it's strange, right? But that is not the reason why I wanted to make this video. It was, going back to what I said earlier, I wanted to point out a few things that is currently going wrong at Barcelona that I think could be fixed. It's very much fixable, but I don't know if it's going to be fixed this season. I don't know where Xavi Hernandez's head is at right now. So point number one, I really want to see the back line that we did have from the previous season. Like, I want to see Kounde back into the right back position. I want to see Araujo and Christensen becoming our main center back pairing with Alejandro Balde as our left back. I want to see that back line again. I think that if we can assemble a back line like this and put it for our next 10 to 15 games, Barcelona would experience much more success. Like, let's look at the stats from the previous season. If you put all the teams from the top 5 best leagues in the world, you put them all together and you rank them and you place in who conceded the least amount of goals to the most amount of goals, Barcelona is at the bottom of the list in terms of who conceded the most amount of goals, who had the most goals against them. If you guys still don't understand this stat, Barcelona were at the bottom. They barely conceded any goals, and that's 20. They only conceded 20 goals. Now, if we go into this season and we bring in the exact same filters, the exact same teams, you can see that Barcelona are not at the bottom anymore. They're not the team that concedes the least amount of goals. They're not there. Barcelona went all the way to the middle of the table because they have been conceding way more goals, which puts them higher on the table. They have conceded a total of 12 goals so far, and that's already more than halfway on what they conceded from the previous season. So there's clearly something wrong defensively. Like, yes, I think that Barcelona have added more quality in the attack. Yes, I think that Barcelona are putting in more focus on also the attack, but it comes with a cost. And, you know, like, our defense is in shambles, and that is the reason why we're winning games, but we're allowing the opposition to score 2 or 3 goals against us, and that's never good. That is never good. And sometimes Barcelona do not even provide the necessary requirements offensively, and we're like, okay, so we lost our defensive displays, and now we're going to be losing our offensive displays. What even is this team right now? And the only answer that I can give out towards our, you know, like, having a better defensive display is by having Kounde as a right back and Araujo and Christensen and Balde right next to Jules Kounde in that back line. Now, I understand that Kounde has said to Xavi Hernandez, I don't want to play as a right back anymore, but I don't see Kounde ever bothering Deschamps from the French national team and saying that I don't want to play as a right back anymore. Over there, when he represents France, he has no problem playing as a right back, but at Barcelona, he does have a problem. So I find that very strange. I think that Xavi Hernandez needs to have more authority. He needs to look out for the whole team and say, okay, like, I understand that you want to play as a right back. I understand that you enjoy playing as a center back more, but you're much more needed on the right back position because you make this team overall better. And Kounde was phenomenal. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like, if you analyze Kounde's individual performance from the previous season, and every time he was a right back, he was phenomenal as a right back. I have no idea why he does not enjoy playing a right back for Barcelona, and it makes the team just much better. And so Xavi had to accommodate Kounde and say, okay, look, I'm sorry that I couldn't place you as a center back, but this season for sure I'll play you as a center back. And because of that, we also had to get Joao Cancelo and put Joao Cancelo as our right back. But like no, it's not working. And I also question, like, what is Joao Cancelo even bringing as a right back? Because the previous game that we just saw, like, I understand they had a great debut, by the way, but the previous game that we saw and against Real Madrid, he had no real reason to be on the pitch. Like, if you are going to put him as a right wing back, you're putting him there so he can bring something offensively. And in the match against Real Madrid and in the match against Real Sociedad, he did not really do anything offensively. So I'm like, okay, so what's the reason why you even place him there? So I just think that Kounde should be our main right back, regardless if he likes it or not. And that's something that Xavi Hernandez has to communicate to the player. And so because we also have to move Kounde as a center back in our back line this season, this also does mean that Araujo has to play as a right center back when Alejandro Balde does go up. And that's never, a good idea, because I don't see Araujo playing as well as he does when he is in the middle of the defensive line, right? We like to have Araujo in the middle next to Christensen on his left side and Kounde on his right side, so he can have massive support. But because Kounde has to play as a center back full time and having Joao Cancelo on the right back position, that only leads towards one thing, and that is Araujo playing as a right center back, and he does not look as comfortable as he does as a center back. Another thing, right? I want to move on towards Lewandowski. I just feel like Lewandowski in a way right now is becoming a real problem, and a lot of us can sense that. Now, I don't really know what to think of when it comes to like Lewandowski. I know that leadership wise, he brings something good to the table. I know that he speaks to the players a lot and he says, this is what we need to do, this is what we have to do. But like, if you're only speaking about things like that, right, and you are saying this is what you have to do and this is what you have to do, but you yourself are not doing that on the pitch, then you're kind of contradicting yourself. For example, right, I know that Lewandowski tells Xavi, Pedri, and all the youngsters and says, hey, look, we have to push harder, we have to be 100% focused, we cannot allow ourselves to not be focused, and we have to give it our all, right? I know that he says that in the locker room, and I know that he says that in the tunnel, but when I see him on the pitch, he does the complete opposite. Like, he puts his head down when he does not receive the ball, he looks very annoyed, he doesn't give out that impression that he wants to try hard, he doesn't make those sprints, he doesn't make those runs, he never pressures for the ball, and I'm like, okay, like, you're saying all of these things, and that's great, but if you're not gonna do it action-wise, then why are you even saying that in the first place if you're not gonna lead by example? Like, I see no enthusiasm in Lewandowski every time he's on the pitch. I see nothing, and every time when things are not going his way, he just, again, he looks annoyed, his body language is not that great, and I'm like, what type of leadership is this? And the one thing, and another thing that does annoy me is that, yeah, he complains, but like, he complains as if like he's the boss and that he's the only one that can give himself authority. Like, he doesn't like listening to anybody else. I feel like he does not want to listen to Xavi Hernandez. When I see Xavi Hernandez giving him instructions, like, bro, like, you're not that special, you're not Messi, you're not Diego Armando Maradona. Like, you have to still work hard regardless if you think that you're a legend or not. Like, I know that you won a Champions League, but the person that is coaching you right now, Xavi Hernandez, has won 2 trebles. He has won a World Cup. Things that you, Lewandowski, cannot even touch, or not even close to. And so I would suggest to listen to Xavi, because sometimes I don't see that connection between Xavi Hernandez and Lewandowski, and that's a problem. Like, bro, like, listen to Xavi, listen to what he has to say. He's giving you instructions. He wants to give you that applause inside the tunnel. You know, we saw him try to ignore Xavi Hernandez, not even hug Xavi Hernandez, and then pass by him. And I'm like, what type of attitude is this? And the worst thing from all of this is that we paid 50 million euros just for him not to score in important games, and for him to like not even try in games like against Real Sociedad or against Real Madrid. We paid 50 million euros for the player, and I understand that he was the top scorer in La Liga last season, but still, you must give much more. You just have to give much more, and I see it on the pitch, and many of us do see it on the pitch. You lose control of the ball. I don't see you run. I don't see you pressure, and like, you complain first before you even do anything. Like, Lewandowski not too long ago said that he was frustrated because he does not play with full-on attackers. He does not play with wingers around him. That's the reason why he has been unable to perform. Like, many people were questioning, why haven't we seen the best from Lewandowski? Is it because of the system? And you know, like, a lot of people were commentating on the system. They were saying, yeah, it's because we play with 4 midfielders, we don't play with enough attackers. And Lewandowski really wanted to put that message out also to the media, and he said those type of things. But like, you know, we have Joao Felix and Rafinha right next to him, or sometimes Joao Felix and Lamine Yamal, and we still see the exact same thing. So maybe the problem is not the system. Maybe the problem is that we don't see enough from Lewandowski. Him individually does not try as hard. Again, I understand the type of player Lewandowski is. He's not a Luis Suarez. He's not a El Fenomeno. He's a player that needs to be delivered the ball, and he's someone that sits inside the box. But still, dude, like, I don't even see that. I still don't even see that. Like, sometimes I see Lewandowski receive the ball and he gets service from either Xavi or Gundogan, and he still misses. And what's crazy is that this is very similar to the problem of Jules Kounde. Like, Lewandowski was complaining to Xavi, and he was saying that, hey, look, I need to play with full-on attackers, and I'll be able to deliver. Very similar to how Kounde said, I don't want to play as a right back anymore. I want to play as a center back because I enjoy it more, and I'll be able to deliver. They're both very similar things, and Xavi has been able to accommodate those 2 players. And listening to those 2 players, he said, okay, Jules Kounde, I'll put you as a center back, and I'll bring in Joao Cancelo and place him as a right back, and you won't play in that position as much. And then as for Lewandowski, he's like, okay, Lewandowski, if you need to play with more attackers, I'm gonna take away Xavi from the false left wing position, and I'm gonna add Joao Felix. And I don't really like that. I really don't like that, because I feel like if Xavi continues to try and accommodate these players and whatever they need, it's gonna hurt the team overall, which is the reason why I just think that Barcelona are not doing as well like what we saw from the previous season. Like, we see more conceded goals, we look much more unalert, there's no eagerness to win, I don't see any focus, we lose control of so many games. And I'm like, okay, so if we're giving Kounde what he wants, we're giving Lewandowski what he wants, and it's hurting the team overall, then I just feel like Xavi Hernandez needs to be looking at the team and look out best for the team, even if that means it lowers the level just a little bit for Kounde and we don't give the ball enough to Lewandowski, even if it means that, right? I'd much rather have 11 8 out of 10 performances than having two players who gave out 10 out of 10 performances and the rest they gave like 7 out of 10 or like 6 out of 10 performances. Does that make sense? This is also the reason why I say that the best starting 11 that we could assemble, it is going to be this: Ter Stegen in goal, Kounde, Araujo, and Christensen as our back three when we do have the ball, right? Obviously, this is a formation that we use when we go on to attack. And then our box midfield being Frankie and Xavi, and then having our eights being Gundogan and Pedri, with our front three being Alejandro Balde, Lewandowski, and Rafinha. Again, I know that both Joaos are not included in the 11, but what good can we take from that when we know that if we add in those two Joaos, it does not make any difference offensively, and it also makes us very much exposed in the back line. So with a starting 11 like this, we are much more, right? Much more defensively solid, much more capable of controlling the game with Gundogan, Xavi, Pedri, and Frankie, and we have the wingers that Lewandowski does need, which is Alejandro Balde and Rafinha, to get the service and to accommodate Lewandowski in the best way possible. So that is where I do stand right now. You know, like, I think that this is a great time to talk about Barcelona's problems because we still have about 24 to 48 hours left for our next game, which will take place on Tuesday against Shakhtar. So it's going to be a very interesting match, and I hope that Barcelona deliver and we bring in great intensity regardless of how great our position is on the group stages. I still want to give out a great world-class performance. I want to win 5-0, 6-0, 7-0. If we have the capability to win 6-0, we do that. We don't just win 3-0 and there's 20 minutes left and we just don't try. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Barcelona saying, okay, we scored 3 goals, we're okay, let's just pass the ball around and let's just kill out these next 20 minutes. Like, no, if you have the capability to score 6 goals, you do that. If you have the capability to score 12 goals, do it. Okay, I don't care if it looks unprofessional, do it. So that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.